All right, welcome everyone to another deep dive. Today we're looking into something pretty crucial for any boat owner out there, marine electronics repair. And, if you're listening, you've probably got a good idea of just how important those onboard electronics are for pretty much everything you do on the water.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I mean, think about it. Whether it's finding your way around with GPS, staying in touch using VHF radio, or just kicking back with some tunes and movies, you're relying on these systems for both safety and enjoyment.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So the goal today is to really dig into the stuff you guys sent us on marine electronics repair. We'll try to figure out what the common problems are, what kind of services are out there to fix them, and why staying ahead of the game with maintenance can save you a whole lot of trouble down the line.
Yeah, it's really about being proactive.
Hmm.
Modern boats, they're like floating networks of sophisticated electronics.
Right.
And that marine environment, all that salt water, humidity, the constant movement, it's a tough place for those systems to survive.
No kidding.
So, keeping them running smoothly, it's not just a matter of convenience. It's about being safe and actually enjoying your time out there.
Okay, so let's break this down a bit. Marine electronics repair, it's more than just fiddling with a loose wire or
hmm
something, right? What makes it so important for how we use our boats these days?
Well, you hit the nail on the head when you mention how we use our boats these days. You see, today's vessels, they depend heavily on electronics for all sorts of things, especially those core functions. Navigation, for instance. Think GPS, keeping you on course. Radar, helping you see what's around, especially in bad visibility. Then there's communication.
Yeah.
VHF radio for talking to other boats or calling for help if you need it. And now we've got satellite internet, so you can stay connected even when you're miles offshore, get weather updates, all that.
Right. And don't forget, a lot of modern engines and crucial onboard systems are controlled electronically too.
Exactly. And that's the thing. If any of these systems go down, it can have some pretty serious consequences. You could get lost. You might not be able to call for help. Things could stop working altogether. It's a real safety concern, too.
I bet. And I can only imagine the downtime on a boat can be a huge pain. You lose time, you probably rack up unexpected costs.
You got it. You're looking at wasted resources, pure and simple. If you charter your boat, that's lost bookings and money straight out of your pocket. If it's your personal boat, well, you're losing precious leisure time, maybe even having to cut a trip short.
Not fun.
Not fun at all. And this is exactly where that idea of proactive marine electronics troubleshooting comes in. It's about making a habit of checking your systems, doing regular maintenance to spot those little issues before they turn into big, expensive problems.
Like preventative care for your boat's electronics.
Exactly. A small investment of time and effort upfront can save you a world of hurt later on.
Makes sense.
Hmm.
So what are some of the usual suspects, the things that tend to go wrong with marine electronics in that harsh saltwater environment?
Well, like we said before, that marine environment is brutal on electronics.
Yeah.
You've got corrosion eating away at wiring and connections, moisture getting into places it shouldn't, and the constant pounding from waves. It's a recipe for trouble.
Right.
One of the most common things we see is navigation system failures. Imagine you're out there relying on your eyes to navigate, and suddenly you're in a thick fog bank,
Oh,
and your radar decides to take a nap. That's not a situation anyone wants to be in. Communication disruptions are another big one. Your VHF radio goes silent when you need to make a distress call, or your satellite internet cuts out right when you need to check the weather forecast,
yikes. I can see how that would be a bit stressful.
to say the least. Then you have those pesky power supply problems. Corrosion, like we talked about, is a constant enemy, and it loves to munch on wiring and connections.
Oh, I bet.
This can cause those intermittent problems that are a nightmare to diagnose, or even worse, total equipment failure. And we can't forget those audiovisual systems. They might seem less important, compared to navigation and all that, but troubleshooting and calibrating entertainment systems are actually some of the most common service calls we get.
Really. So it's not just about the life or death stuff. People want their entertainment to work too. Makes sense.
Absolutely. And what's really interesting is how a tiny problem, like a little bit of corrosion on a connector, can mess up the entire flow of data or power. You get a domino effect with one small failure causing a whole cascade of problems in connected systems.
Wow. So when something does go wrong,
Hmm.
what kind of expert help is available to get things back up and running? What sort of marine electronics repair services are out there for boat owners?
Well, the good news is there's a whole range of services available, all aimed at getting you back on the water. Typically, the first step is what we call system diagnostics. It's like detective work.
Oh,
We use specialized tools and our knowledge of marine electronics to track down the root cause of the problem. Once we know what's wrong, we can start fixing things. That might involve repairing or replacing faulty wiring, swapping out bad components, or even updating the system's software or firmware to make sure everything is running smoothly.
I see. So it's not always just about replacing a broken part. It's about understanding the whole system and making sure it's all working together as it should.
Precisely. And for those really urgent situations, when something critical fails, there are emergency repair services that can get you back up and running as quickly as possible.
That's reassuring. Now, we talked earlier about preventing problems before they happen. You mentioned service plans in the material you sent. Can you explain how those work and how they can help boat owners stay ahead of potential issues with their navigation systems and electronics in general?
Yeah, service plans are a great way to be proactive and keep your boat's electronics in top shape. Instead of waiting for things to break and then scrambling to fix them, a service plan lets you budget for regular maintenance and get expert support along the way.
Right.
These plans usually come in a few different tiers, each offering a different level of coverage and perks. For example, a basic silver plan might include regular system checkups and discounts on parts and repairs.
So it's like a little safety net.
Exactly. Then you step up to a gold plan, which could give you more comprehensive coverage, maybe priority scheduling for service, even help with planning upgrades to your electronics.
Nice.
And then there's the top of the line platinum plan. This usually includes 24/7 support, guaranteed rapid response times for critical failures, and the peace of mind that comes with knowing you've got experts on call whenever you need them.
Wow. So no matter how much coverage you want, there's probably a plan out there for you.
That's the idea. It's all about giving you options and helping you keep those crucial systems running smoothly.
So it's a bit like having a service plan for your car or a regular maintenance schedule for your engine.
Exactly. It takes the guesswork out of maintenance and helps you avoid those unexpected, expensive surprises.
Now, let's say you're listening to this and thinking, okay, I need to get some repairs done, or maybe I should look into a service plan. How do you go about choosing the right marine electronics repair provider? What are the key things to keep in mind?
Well, choosing the right provider is super important. You're trusting them with some pretty crucial systems on your boat. First and foremost, look for certified technicians. You want someone who really knows their stuff, and the NMEA certification that's from the National Marine Electronics Association is a great indicator of expertise.
Okay, so NMEA certification, that's a big one. What else should we be looking for?
It's also a good sign if the provider has strong relationships with the big manufacturers like Furuno, Raymarine, Garmin, KVH. It usually means they have specialized training on those systems, access to genuine parts, and the latest knowledge about how to service them. And with all the new connectivity options out there these days, things like Starlink Maritime Internet and LTE 5G, you want to make sure they're up to speed on that stuff too.
It's like everything else. Technology on boats is changing so fast.
Exactly. Another thing you don't want to overlook is their reputation for customer service. Look for online reviews, testimonials, anything that tells you about their reliability, how responsive they are, and whether their customers are generally happy with their work. The material you provided mentions one provider with over 165 five-star Google reviews. That's a pretty strong signal that they're doing something right.
Yeah, I mean, with that many good reviews, they must be doing something right.
And lastly, make sure they emphasize ongoing maintenance as part of their services, not just one-time repairs. It shows they're invested in the long-term health of your boat's electronics.
So it's about finding someone who's going to be a partner in keeping your boat's systems in tip-top shape, not just a quick fix when something breaks.
Exactly. You want someone you can trust to keep everything running smoothly for years to come.
Now, speaking of everything running smoothly, let's talk about system integration. We've got all these different systems on board: navigation, communication, entertainment. Why is it important for them to all work together seamlessly?
I like to think of a boat's electronics as an orchestra. If all the instruments are in tune and playing together in harmony, the whole performance is going to be amazing.
Makes sense.
It's the same with your boat's electronics. When the systems are well integrated, they can share information and work together more efficiently. This makes everything easier to use, and it improves overall reliability too.
So give me an example. How would this work in a real-world situation?
Okay, imagine your radar picks up another vessel on a potential collision course. If your systems are integrated properly, that information will be instantly displayed on your chart plotter, and it might even trigger an alarm on your autopilot, giving you more time to react. Or think about something like upgrading to Starlink Maritime Internet. If it's properly integrated with your onboard network, all your devices can benefit from that high-speed connection.
I see. And what about something like sonar?
Same idea. When you install a sophisticated sonar system, it's much more powerful if its data is integrated with your chart plotter. It gives you a much clearer picture of what's happening underwater.
Right. So by integrating everything, you're not just creating a bunch of separate gadgets, you're building a smart, interconnected network on your boat.
Exactly. And that's where a skilled marine electronics technician can really make a difference. Integrating different systems properly requires a deep understanding of how all those different technologies communicate with each other. It's more than just plugging things together.
This has been a fascinating deep dive into marine electronics repair. It's clear that for anyone who owns a boat, keeping these systems in good shape is essential for safety, efficiency, and just getting the most out of your time on the water.
I couldn't agree more.
We've talked about the importance of repairs, the common problems caused by the marine environment, the services that are available to fix them, and the advantages of having a service plan. We've also highlighted why system integration is so crucial.
And the takeaway for our listeners is that taking a proactive and informed approach is really the best way to go. The more you understand about potential problems and the resources available to fix them, the better equipped you'll be to keep those crucial systems running smoothly.
So here's something to think about as we wrap up. With all the amazing advancements in boat electronics these days, how could a deeper understanding of your specific boat systems, how they all connect and work together, boost your confidence and enjoyment on the water? And what questions do you have about the long-term reliability of your electronics or potential upgrades you might want to consider? Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.